Sounds rough this morning, Brian.
Thank you, Stan. I'm dropping the power back here. Hoping that sounds better. KN4R. Hello, test from Kilowatt, November 4, Romeo, KN4R.
Sorry about that. Hello, CQ, hello, CQ. CQ, the Old Friends Net. Time for the Tuesday edition of the Old Friends Get Together. This is W4MEC, your net control for today. The Old Friends Net meets 3 times a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays at 9 a.m., Sundays at 6:30 all on the same frequency, 3715. And while we're primarily focused on vintage gear, any rig that can generate a AM signal is welcome to join us. This is carried out in the roundtable, old-fashioned roundtable fashion. I'll take check-ins and we'll get everybody seated around the table, and we'll go around it. Everybody gets a chance to make a transmission of their length of their choice, and it's a great place to look for gear and sell gear and look for bits and pieces, not beats and pieces, and get any information you might need. And we've been meeting. This net's been meeting for about 26 years on 75 meters. So let's see. Any other things in the preamble? No, I can't think of anything. So let's get started. So those wishing to participate, please give W4MEC a call and come now.
Good morning, Charlie W, A4LLR.
N4LQ.
KZ4 Bravo.
K3OS.
And WB4NKL.
WB4ARK.
K4GDN.
Okay, stop here a minute. The last station was nothing but a squeal. I have a feeling that might be Glenn. There's somebody that doubled with WB4NKL, so I've got K3OS, WB4NKL, and WB4ARK. Who was in there that I missed?
KZ4B.
Didn't get anything.
KZ4B.
ON, and also KN4R.
Hello? Okay. All right, I copied KN4R and NC4ON was the repeat there, and a WF2U. All right, any further check-ins? I know Lee's out there somewhere.
K4GDN.
K4VWD.
W4VRO.
Okay, let me tell you what I got so far, and I did copy you, George. WA4LLR, W4KR, Stan, N4LQ Steve, KZ4B John, K3OS Gary, KN4R Brian, WB4NKL Cliff, NC4ON Stefan, WB4ARK Buddy, K4GDN George, WF2U Mir, K4VWD Lee, and W4VRO. Any further check-ins? Nothing heard, so one more time. This is the order. Just make sure you know who you're following and who you're going to turn it to. LLR, KR, LQ, 4 Bravo, Oscar Sierra, 4R, NKL, ON, ARK, GDN, 2U, VWD, and VRO. So, good morning, fellas. Well, it sort of sounds like a barnyard tuning up here before the net between the dogs and the cats. Yeah, the chicken and the sheep will be all set. So, anyway, it's getting about 44 degrees here, clear day, nice day outside. And about the only excitement was I got done filling my pond, shut the pump off yesterday, and forever when I shut the pump off, it always bleeds back through the suction line and basically self-drains itself. And because the foot valve isn't that good, so it just kind of all goes back into the stream. But last night I said, I wonder if it did. And I walked out there around 12:30 and picked up the suction line, and it was heavy as a rock, so I knew it was full of water. So I couldn't get the drain plug out of the pump. I didn't know if it was going to freeze, so I had to go find a couple light bulbs to put in the my holder out there so it wouldn't freeze if it did. And there's only 230 volts out there. There's no neutral line, so I got a little fixture that has two lamps in series. So they have to be identical lamps. So I don't know what I'm going to do when I can't find a 60-watt or a 40 or 60-watt incandescent lamp anymore, because I use them to heat up a couple things when it's freezing. So I'll have to come up with something else, I guess, there. All right, so let's get started with Dave, WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC and the group, WA4LLR. Well, good morning to everybody. Strong signals all the way around today. We've presently got a temperature of about 44 degrees and mostly sunny. Looks like it's going up to around 64, 65 here. And they're saying we might get some rain towards the end of the week, and we sure need it. But everybody's doing a good job, and good to have a nice group in here on this Tuesday morning, 14 so far. So that's great. Anyway, we'll keep it going. And glad you got the pond filled up, Charlie. W4KR, WA4LR.
All right, Dave. Good morning to you. Everybody else, too. WA4LLR and the old friends group, W4KR. Well, good morning again. Copying everybody greatly. John over on the coast, good signal. Surprisingly good signal. But you're getting through. Not a chunk of lightning anywhere. So it's quiet, nice and quiet. Let's see. Question. Need a comment or two about the audio on this thing. I got a report just the other day that it's a lot bassier than usual, and it's muffled. And I wonder how the audio of this thing sounds. I always thought it was sounded halfway decent, but the report puzzled me. Anyway, with that, Steve, here it comes. N4LQ in the old friends group. This is W4KR.
Okay, W4KR, N4LQ. Yeah, I turned off the equalizer. I had it set to null out the bass, and yeah, it's got a lot of bass, which is kind of unusual. I think you're on a Viking too, and it kind of rumbles when you talk. But I mean, I just turn the EQ on and it goes away, so I don't hear it that way. But I've been noticing that on your signal, and it wasn't me that made the report, but it's almost like a hum that changes the rumbly sound when you talk. But I've got this big old subwoofer here. I can hear all that stuff, and I can even hear hum on myself, so I don't worry about it too much. I'm running the Viking 1, and I built a little preamp yesterday for this. This is a D104 non-amplified, and off of eBay I bought this EQ that I've been using on other mics. Has a bass and treble control, and I built it into a little bud box, put a stereo jack on each side of that, and a power supply connection, and so the mic goes into it and into the transmitter, and I tried to adjust it the best I could with by listening to myself. So that's what we're doing here. Different this morning, about 90 watts into the horizontal loop antenna. And Charlie, I guess you're going to have to reinvent the light bulb. Go back and read Edison's notes on how to make a tungsten filament and suck the air out of a glass bulb, and you'll be back in business, and who knows, you might be able to sell them on the black market. Okay, so over to John, KZ4B, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group, KZ4 Bravo, fine business, Steve. And W4KR, your audio sounds fine here. It is, has lots of bass, but it doesn't seem to be objectionable at all, for whatever that's worth. I'm not copying as well as Steve, so I might not hear so much of the nuance, but does sound good here. On the light bulbs, Uncle Joe is at it again. I use light bulbs for monitoring AM as a dummy load, and I really miss not having a good selection of new bulbs. I have collected some old bulbs, and as long as they last, I'm in good shape, but I use them. It doesn't tell me much on sideband, but on AM, I like to use the bulbs. But where to get them? That's a problem. I have collected a number of these. They used to have these resistance coil heater elements that screw in a regular Mazda base, and that makes a good dummy load, but if you don't see the flash, then you lose that visual input, and so you need a bulb. So much for meddling in technology by idiots. No pun intended. Weather's very nice today. We are just having the greatest fall imaginable as far as the weather, but it's not doing the grass any good at all. And Charlie, if it were me, I would add a manual valve in series with your check valve, so you can just close it when you don't want the pond to drain back into the creek. And because it sounds like that's a cheap and dirty thing, and check valves do tend to crud up. I have a problem with mine on the lake here. When the lake gets low, the check valve gets too close to the bottom of the lake and tends to crud up. So I use a manual valve. And let's see, what else? Very important. At the Lawrenceville Ham Fest, I picked up a Harrison Gates AM 80 modulation monitor for indicating the percentage of modulation. And I have checked it out. The power supply, is working good, but I need literature on how to hook it up. Basically, I don't know what input. It's got a PL259 coax connection for input from a RF sample from the transmitter. And I don't know what the specifications are for that RF input. But I'd like to use the modulation monitor, and I don't know what that is. And so if I went on the internet, and so far I haven't had any luck finding a manual or technical detail on that monitor. And so if anybody has any information, please pass it on. It's a pretty neat looking modulation monitor, and it's like most of them. It says set to, for the RF input, it says set to red line, but there's no red line on the meter. It goes from 0 to 200%, and so I don't know, how you set it to get the RF input right so that the percent is accurate. And it has a separate meter that goes from 0 to 125%. And it has two alarms, one for negative modulation and one for excessive positive modulation, and you can set both limits. But I haven't found any literature. It's an AM modulation monitor. So anyway, and it's all solid state. There's no tubes. I would prefer tube. I'm more comfortable around tube stuff, being a fossil myself. So on that note, I will pass it on over to Gary. And you're coming in quite well this morning, Gary. K3OS in the group, KZ4B, over.
Yeah, KZ4B, K3OS. Let me crank up a little more drive here. There we go. And yeah, good morning, everybody. From Hickory. Things are reasonable here, except the water level is way down. Down about, I don't know how it is, Brian, you can tell me how it is on Lake Norman, but up here we're down 5-6 feet. I can't get to my boat. Well, yeah, I can, but it's about a 45-degree angle going down the ramp, and my neighbor can't launch his boat because there's not enough water in the little cove here. We're on a little shallow section. Anyway, I'm running this morning finally the Kenwood twins, the T599 and the R599, which I finally got working right, I think. And I got it hitched up to the amp, so we're running about 100 watts of carrier. And finally glad to get this thing going. I wish I may have to work on the loudspeaker to this pair. I've got the matching loudspeaker, which is really a piece of junk, but what are you going to do? And like everybody, I've been winterizing. I winterized the irrigation system yesterday and took care of some of that stuff. I've just got to add some stabilizer to the boat fuel and the pressure washer and all of that stuff, but we'll get there. Maybe it won't be a cold winter at all. Brian, down to you in Sherrills Ford. KN4R, K3OS.
Very good. K3OS and the Tuesday Old Friends. This is Brian, KN4R, on the GRC9 here in the handset, and my daughter's upstairs getting ready for a photo shoot, so she's got the vacuum cleaner. It just turned off. So very good signals today. George, you're super strong here. And let's see what's new. Gary, the water level is about the same here. It's just about as low as I've ever seen it. Getting pretty close anyway, and about 5 feet down anyway. So let's see. I've been working on getting my 50-meter antenna back up. Also troubleshooting the hand crank generator for this GRC9. It's called the GN58, I've got some voltages, but not all of them. So working on that, and looks like I'm going to be going to the Benson Ham Fest on Sunday, and afterwards visit Brown, W1NZR, at his new QTH in Battleboro, North Carolina, and stay over that night and then drive back the next day. So anyway, so that'll be fun. So anyway, over to you, Cliff, WB4NKL, and the group KN4R.
Now KN4R, it's WB4NKL. Okay, Brian, good sharp, I call it sharp audio. I guess it's a carbon mic, but plenty readable. You might be a little, I had to tune down a little bit to get you in the best here. You might be a little low in frequency. I got 38 degrees here. It started out 32. It's slow warming up. I think it's supposed to get up into about 60. But earlier today, most of the folks that was higher up had higher temperatures, so we had sort of a temperature inversion going on. And Stan, your audio sounds good to me. Of course, I'm not running a subwoofer or anything here, but good. I can't tell much difference in your signal than normal. And Gary, the Kenwood twin sounds great. Good clean audio. Seems like about everything, it might be your voice, but everything you operate has got a good clear modulation. So good job on those. I'll send it on around. I think it goes to, let's see, Stefan, NC4ON, it's WB4NKL.
Yeah, Roger, Cliff, WB4NKL and the group NC4ON. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Charlie, for doing the net this morning. You're coming in quite good. Excellent copy, I would say. I'm on my Kenwood 950 SDX here. It's performing good lately. I had a little bit of an issue with it, but went over everything, and now it's kind of back to, I would say, almost original condition. So really happy with the way it performs. I hope it sounds okay. Copy everybody good. I'm happy to be here. It's I think it's going to be around 60 degrees, 65 degrees for today. So a nice day in Denver here. Over to, what is it? I think it's Buddy, WB4ARK and the group NC4ON. Here it comes.
NC4ON, WB4ARK. Okay, Stefan, very good signal into Lake Wylie today. And the weather here is very clear. 37 degrees this morning at 7 o'clock. And we probably have the lowest lake level I have ever seen out here. It's when you take 274 back towards 49 and going back towards Charlotte, when you cross the first bridge, you look over to the right, the amount of the land that is visible is extremely large. It's a huge area not covered by water. It's a cove that comes off of the main part of the lake, goes under the bridge and up that westerly direction, kind of northwest, and it is very, very dry, and I think it's definitely the lowest I have ever seen that lake since we've been here. Not much going on here. Finished up the 32S3, got it back to Butch Gibbons, WB4NXK, and so we got that taken care of, so we don't have any more troubleshooting or work to do actually at this point. So we do have something coming up, but I'm not working on it at the present time. So over to George, K4GDN, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK in the group. This is K4GDN. Well, I'm on the multi-LMAC, feeding that through attenuated to the 811, the homebrew 811s, and looks like carrier levels around 125 watts. I've started doing some testing with the B&W 5100V, and everything seems to be working, with the exception of the way I'm tuning, or the way it's tuning. I would expect that as I decrease the loading capacitance, I would see plate current on the final go up, and then when I dip it again, the dip would be a little higher than it was previously. Well, that's not what's happening. When I dip it initially with loading capacitance, then I decrease the loading capacitance, the current goes down, and sometimes I even lose the dip. I can also, I can get anywhere from 50 to 100 watts out depending on how I tune it, but it's certainly not how I expect to. I'm going to take the final unit out today and give it a good going over again. I did a cursory cleaning on it to start with, and maybe that just wasn't enough. There's a lot of exposed switches in that area, and it does, there is some switching done to adapt the thing when you're going to use it with the sideband adapter, which I don't intend to, at least not right now. I'm on the multi-LMAC this morning, as I said, and sending that to the 811s. I'm copying everybody really well with the exception of Charlie. There is some QSB there. Other than that, everybody sounds pretty good. And I believe that I turn it to Lee. If that's not correct, Charlie, you straighten me out. So K4VWD in the group, K4GDN.
Goes to Mir, WFTU.
Roger. Very good, George. KG4, sorry. 4GDN. And the net, this is WFTU. You're very good.
I think Mir might have blown a fuse.
Oh, okay, this is better. Okay, I hope I'm copyable. I had a little bit of a glitch here with the antenna tuner or a cable. Anyway, copying everybody just fine. Buddy was very strong before, let's see, he's one of the strongest stations, about 10 to 15 over 9. George was a little weak, 5 and 6, but everybody else is coming in like around 9 plus. Running the AF67, the LMAC, and receiving on the LMAC PMR7, and putting out right now something like about 40 something watts, 45 watts or so, and the antenna is an end-fed half wave for 80 meters. So I'll keep it short. The field is pretty big here. So I think it goes to Elite K4VWD. This is WFTU.
Okay, Mir, this is K4VWD. Well, excuse me. It's 53 degrees here at my house in Greenville, South Carolina, and the sun's shining, so it looks like it's going to be a good day. I've been playing with the transmitter and amplifier a little bit, and I've got the load control on this AF68 turned all the way down. And the minimum output power I can get from this AF68 is about 8 watts. But I got the amplifier tuned up to 160 watts. So it's a 20 to 1 increase. So from 8 to 160. So I hope everybody's copying me okay. So, and Charlie, thank you again for calling me on Sunday. I sure do appreciate it. I've been wondering about Reed. Reed used to check in with us, but I listened for a little bit to the Atlanta group this morning, and he was on, so I guess he's all right. So, right here she comes, W4VRO, K4VWD.
K4VWD and the net, W4VRO. Very good, Lee, and good morning to you. I think Reed's okay. I heard him this morning also, and I hear him pretty often on the other net. I listen to it if I'm in the office doing something, and so I hear him pretty often. I think he's okay. Charlie, good morning to you, and thanks for calling the net. Dave, good to hear you. Very good signal, and you're sounding good. Stan, you asked about the audio. It does have a lot of bass. It sounds really good. I mean, it's crisp and the audio sounds good, but it does have a lot of bass. I don't hear any muffle. Steve, with the little preamp and the big speakers and all that, is picking up on that, but I think most of us will not hear that. So, little bass, I wouldn't worry about that. Sounds like you, sounds good. And Steve, that I think you're using that little preamp between the D104 and the Viking, and the audio is really, really keen. I mean, it's just sharp and sounds really good. John, I didn't know anyone was using bulbs for a dummy load, except me. And I was a little embarrassed to tell anybody, but now that you've bragged on them, I'll reveal that I have a dummy load up here on a wooden block with 2 light sockets on it wired in parallel and 2 bulbs, each one 200 watts. And the SWR is almost 1-to-1. I rarely use a dummy load, but maybe if it's close to net time and I just want to check things, I'll put it on the dummy load, and that's pretty close to the same load it's going to get from the antenna. But pleased to hear you're using some bulbs for a dummy load. The flea market, if you have a big flea market, that's the place to check pretty often for incandescent bulbs. I have found some there again and again. Gary, good to hear you. Good audio this morning, good signal. Brian, I heard you testing earlier this morning. There's something going on with your audio, but someone has copied you better and can comment about that better than I. Cliff, good to hear you. And Stefan, very good signal. Copying everybody great. George, copying you solid this morning. That is a welcomed surprise. And the LMAC driving the 811 homemade amplifier, 125 watts. Getting the job done today. You sound good and strong signal this morning. Easy Q5. Mir, good to hear you. Very good signal. And Lee, the 8 watts barefoot getting you 160 watts through the amp is doing very well. I could probably hear you with 8 watts, but 160 watts is just right. Charlie, I'm going to have to make this my last one. I have an appointment shortly, and I'll have to leave before it gets back around to me. But good to hear all of you. Hope you have a good week, 73. And back to you, Charlie. W4MEC, W4VRO.
Very good, Ray. W4VRO in the group, W4MEC. And this is the Old Friends Net. Do we have anybody that would like to join us? Give me a call. Nothing heard. It's W4MEC and the Old Friends. Well, very good. Good round there. Interesting. I turned on my Heathkit HO10, I think it's spectrum analyzer here, and just as, because I was curious about Brian's signal, And the best way I can describe your audio, Brian, is it sounds like you're off frequency, but you're not, because I did tune back and forth. But even when you were dead center, it sounded like I was off to the side a little bit. So good percentage and all that, good and loud, but just like it's a little off frequency. And when I looked at it on the scope, you did have quite a bit of stuff off to the side, a little broader than most. It's interesting. I was watching the scope, and there was a sideband station down the band, and he was actually about 3 times wider than any of the AM signals that I could see. I don't know what he was doing, but he was overdriving something. And it's funny, I noticed a dead air carrier was first, it appeared above us the same amount of frequency, and then it appeared below us the same amount of frequency. I thought it might have been somebody tuning up and getting the tuner ready, and maybe he was just bracketing us so that when he could put it on frequency, he wouldn't have to give us a dead carrier and tune up. But that carrier is still there, comes and goes, and that's a strong one, stronger than many on other stations. But let's see. Yeah, John, my pump has a drain plug on it, a half-inch one. And the wrench I had last night, I could not break it free because I've never actually removed it. I never had any reason to remove it. So that made me go on the hunt for a couple of bulbs, which I did have. We've got a pretty good stash of them. My wife bought quite a few from Lowe's there as they were getting rid of them, and I think we probably have a lifetime of 60 and 75 watt bulbs. But I just had to find 2 that were alike to put in series. And let's see what else I got in a note here. Where's my other note? I was wondering, George, on the loading cap, you probably don't read me that well, but I wonder if it operates backwards. Kind of sounds like what you're running into, because when you overload with the loading cap, your dip does go away. But sometimes some of the rigs going clockwise increases the loading, and sometimes a couple of rigs that go clockwise decreases the loading. So you get sometimes it might confuse you if that's the way it is, but I don't know. I'm sure you sorted that one out already. And let's see. I have not had the time to go and take Steve's advice about looking in the side of the kilowatt matchbox to see if I can see the plates. I need to pull it out a little bit. It's on a top shelf in my garage shack, and see if that my formula worked out and it's set right. So I'll probably do that today sometime. So and see what it is. So anyway, let's go back around again. Dave is checked out, and I don't think anybody else has, but we'll find out. WA4LLR, not Dave. Ray is checked out. W4VRO checked out. So Dave, WA4LLR, the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC and the group, WA4LLR. Well, 7-3 to Ray. Ray, sure good to hear your good signal coming up this way from down in Georgia. Always got a great signal. Let's see, Charlie, as I said, glad you got your pond filled back up and light bulbs. I remember last year the wife and I had made this little storage area for potatoes, and we were going to put a couple of light bulbs in there just to keep it above freezing. And man, we went we went everywhere trying to find incandescent bulbs, and you know, you get Lowe's and Home Depot just kind of look at you funny. But we finally found some and used them. That was a that was a search. Stan, I think your audio sounds about like it has for a while. I have got no problem with it. Sounds good to me, but I guess there is more bass than highs, but it sounds like Stan. So, you know. Steve's Viking 1 sounds good. Let's see. John, congratulations on snagging the modulation monitor. Hope you find the info that you're looking for. And Gary, the Kenwood twins sound really good. Good audio. And Brian, the audio, if you remember those early days of the telephone, The old carbon mic and the telephone, it kind of reminds me of that, but it's definitely punchy communications audio. Buddy, I know what you mean by the water being low. I was looking at some of the lakes up here in the river, and the stream that runs down our road called Cane Branch, and man, it's just a little tiny thing. So yeah, we really need rain. All the LMACs sound good, and Lee, I miss hearing Reed as well. I was wondering about him, and your audio sounds very good this morning, Lee. I'm not hearing any hum, but now I'm using a BC 342N and a Signal Core LS3 speaker, so it may not deliver the hum that the others would, but I don't hear any, and you sound really good today. So everybody sounds good. George, you got a good strong signal up here today. Well, let's see. Our space weather, sunspot count's 85, solar flux index is 134, and the K is 1, so things are pretty quiet on the solar front. A few things from this day in history. On this day in 1954, Condoleezza Rice was born. On this day in 1840, Claude Monet, the French painter, was born. On this day in 2002, Nancy Pelosi was selected to be the leader of the Democrat Party in the House of Representatives, first woman to serve as the leader of either party in Congress. On this day, 1972, Dow Jones Industrial Average topped 1,000 for the first time. On this day in 1969, Apollo 12 was launched for the second lunar landing. On this day in 1935, King Hussein of Jordan was born. And of course, King Hussein was a ham operator. I never worked him, but I heard him a few times. On this day in 1889, Nellie Bly began her round-the-world race against the record of Phileas Fogg in Jules Verne's novel Around the World in 80 Days, and she made it around the world in about 72 days. And that's pretty much it for this day in history. So Stan, here it comes. Here I go. W4KR, WA4LLR.
Okay, Dave. Who are you? WA4LLR. There we go. This W4KR. Well, thanks. Thanks, Dave. Dave, thanks for the historical rundown. Today's quite a day, really. Say, by the way, you mentioned at the outset, you mentioned Condi Rice. She delivered quite a speech a couple of days after the thing that Hamas begun in Israel popped. There had been what they call an overseers meeting scheduled out at the Hoover Institution. There were about 400 people there, and she delivered an amazing speech. It was part history, part reality, and part where the world needs to go. It was an amazing speech, and I've heard it, and I heard a number of commentators have commented on it. She hit the nail right on the head. Let's see, Charlie. We've got a two-wire 240 line running out to the pump house. And a few years ago, I was looking, the pump house is maybe 100 feet from the house. And maybe, when the temperature gets down, I used to string a light bulb out there with an extension cord, and I finally said, enough of that. Let's figure out a way to permanently do it. So what I wanted to do was put a little 1 foot or 18-inch, actually it's an 18-inch heat strip out there, and I found one finally with a thermostat on it, and dial-up thermostat. And the only way, a mechanical one, The only way, it had to be a 240 volt line, and most of those small strips were 115, 120s. But I finally found a 240 volt one, and that's been out there ever since. And I've it would be great if that was a 3-wire line out there, but not to be. Anyway, that it works well. Let's see. Steve, Cliff, Ray, thanks for the comments on the audio. I switched rigs. This is the rig that's normally up on 3885. In fact, it'll be the one. It's the one I'll be using tonight for the Southeast AM Radio Club Net, which begins at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Eventually, we're going to move that back an hour, but we're leaving it at 7 o'clock for a little bit yet. Pre-net starts at 6:30. Other notes. It's 51 here this morning, 51 degrees, and I stuck my nose out a little bit to get the paper earlier, and yeah, it was a little bit on the chilly side, but it's beautiful, clear sky out now, so it's pretty nice out there. Let's see. Steve, I forgot to add you to the list. Thanks for the comments on the audio. I'll take a peek of it I've got the pan adapter on this rig, and I'll take a look at it and see what's going on there. If it's overly bassy, I don't want that necessarily. That's chewing up power and bandwidth I don't really need. And I don't have much of a radio voice, so it's there's always some EQing going on in everything else, like there is with this thing. Let's see. That is about it. I'll listen around for the rest. But Charlie, if you're doing a 73 round, I'll have to pass on that because I have to run Joan down to Seneca this morning. So. Steve, over to you, and great morning, great signals from everybody this morning. N4LQ, the Old Friends Group for Tuesday. This is W4KR.
All right, W4KR, N4LQ. Yeah, I knew immediately you weren't on the same rig. And I've drifted up a little bit here in frequency, but I'm using an old WRL Globe VFO that I got off of Lee to drive the Viking 1. So appreciate the audio report on this beast. And Ray, your audio is really loud. But Stan, yeah, I guess you're on the Anon or something, but it's flat from 150 on up, and I'm looking at the audio spectrum and the RF spectrum, and it's just excellent, especially for net calling and stuff, because it'll penetrate right through everything. And yeah, you were probably wasting a lot of power on that rumbly bass. I wonder how that could even be. You couldn't have been using a D104, I don't know, but anyway, you can go back and listen to the last transmission on the live stream that I'll send a link out to it. And I just, for the last few seconds of your transmission, I turned off the EQ so you could probably hear it. And light bulbs, yeah, apparently all the usual light bulbs have been taken off the market, incandescents, but specialty bulbs are still there, like piano lights and oven lights, those 40-watt things, and the ones with strange shapes. Heat lamps are still there. You go to Amazon and you can still buy the big industrial 300-watt bulbs, those gigantic bulbous-looking beasts. 300 watts, man, talk about a dummy load. Of course, one thing about these bulbs is as your power level changes for RF, the impedance of the bulb changes. And I think initially when you first apply the power, the impedance is very low. and then it goes up as it gets hotter. So it technically isn't a very good dummy load. I wouldn't use it on a solid state amplifier, that's for sure. But it's cool to watch it blink as you speak into the microphone. And I think the AF6, I got some rig here that tells you to use, it's the Latine that tells you to use a light bulb and for a dummy load, and how bright the bulb should be. It says like half brilliance or something like that when you talk. I don't know how you're supposed to tell what half brilliance is, but there you go. Go ahead and take it, John. KZ4B, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group. This is KZ4 Bravo. Fine business, Steve. Good copy. Conditions started off great, and they're not quite as good as they were in the beginning, which is to be expected for the morning QSO. Shifting gears, we had normally we go to the what is it? The not variable. Doggone it, the Hamfest down in north of Dunn, but this year we're going to miss it, and we got so much that we need to do outside in Benson, the Benson Hamfest, and we have religiously gone to that year after year, but I believe we're going to miss it this year. Let's see, shifting gears again. Appreciate the feedback on the light bulb. Yeah, we do like to see it flash. It tells us a lot. And but Steve is right that the impedance shifts around as the bulb heats up. It goes higher, and but with the vacuum tube stuff, it really doesn't hurt a thing, other than the fact that the loading changes. But it wouldn't be very good on a solid state rig. We're still working on our T150, hoping to get that on the air, but we've got to clean up the shack enough to find a space for it. Those who've been in my shack know that it is somewhat cluttered. That's an understatement. And so the greatest challenge is not getting the equipment working, it's getting a place for the equipment to sit while it works. And for whatever that's worth. Shifting gears again, we'd like to be checking in on the 160 nets or get-togethers, whatever you want to call it. We've got the antennas for it, but it ends up being a conflict. We have some friends that we eat barbecue with, and we have a later schedule that conflicts with the 160 meter net. So that's why we're not getting on there, is if we meet one, we miss the other. So, but there's going to come a time when we can check in. We have enjoyed it in the past. Well, I'm going to say 73s on this one. Got to get cracking on the outside stuff. And as usual, enjoyed it this morning. Thanks for calling the net, Charlie. And we hope everybody has a great week. So, over it comes to Gary, K3OS in the group, KZ4B clear but listening.
Gary, could I have it a second?
Hi, John. Fine.
Go.
4B. K3OS. Yeah, conditions have changed just a bit. And QSB is coming in here. I'm going to say 73s on this. I'm going to take advantage of the warm weather, reasonably warm weather we have, and get some more outside work done today. A couple of things on light bulbs. I do remember as a kid working across town on my dummy load, which was an incandescent bulb, so they do they do radiate quite a bit. The other interesting thing is I have a Swan 102BX, which some of you may be familiar with, which is solid state. And in the alignment manual, they do call for using an incandescent bulb, but they specify the cold filament resistance. So for whatever reason, I can't remember whether I used that or not, or did some substitution, but light bulbs are still in fashion. Brian, I think maybe you're running one sideband on that radio. That would make some sense to me too. So I'll say 73s, and we'll certainly listen out the round here. KN4R, K3OS.
Hello, Gary. Very good. K3OS. And the old friends, this is Brian, KN4R, on the GRC9, on the carbon handset. So it all sounds about what it should sound like. So anyway, I've got to run. My daughter's helping me get a line out of the tree here to pull an antenna wire up. So I appreciate it. Enjoy it. Everybody have a wonderful day. And Gary, that your Kenwood twins sound unbelievable. Really, really nice. So don't change a thing. So over to you, Cliff. WB4NKL in the group. KN4R 73.
KN4R, it's WB4NKL, K73s, Brian. And he's talking about the light bulb dummy load. Seemed like they had a contest one time to see how far you could talk on a light bulb dummy load. I remember reading something about that, or seemed like some guys down in Texas were involved in it. I don't guess LEDs would make too good of a dummy load. Charlie might get enough of them stacked together to heat your pond, and also light it up. I guess heat your pump down there. Probably take about 10 LEDs to produce the heat of a 100-watt bulb, I guess, something like that. Let's see. I don't have anything else here. I'm going to go ahead and sign and take advantage of the sunny weather. Hopefully we'll get some rain move in. The river here, I live about 2 miles from the Nolichucky River, and it's about 5 feet below normal, they say. And the little creek that runs by the house here is as low as I've seen it. So hopefully we'll get some water to bring those levels back up. 73s, and thanks for calling it, Charlie, and we'll try to catch everybody Thursday. Go ahead, Stefan, NC4ON, it's WB4NKL.
Yeah, Roger, Cliff, WB4NKL in the group NC4ON. All right, well, I'm going to make this my last one as well. I have a few things to do. Brian, you do sound okay with that GRC9. It's just a military-sounding station, but I think it sounds just the way it should sound. So, all right, thank you for calling the net this morning, Charlie. Everybody was coming in beautiful, so I had no issues copying everybody, so that's great. Thank you. Have a great rest of your week, everybody, and hopefully we'll be back on Thursday. Over to you there, buddy, WB4ARK and the group NC4ON 73.
NC4ON, WB4ARK. John, KZ4B, are you still available?
Roger, roger.
Could you give me the model number of that modulation monitor? I did not write it down, and I don't remember the full nomenclature. Over.
The model number is a 994. It's a model 994, but the front of the panel says that it's an AM80, AM80 modulation monitor, so I don't know I've tried Googling both and didn't have much luck. But it's by Harris Gates, and it is solid state. So I would imagine it's somewhere between the late 60s and onward, but haven't been able to find anything on it. Over.
Okay, John, I will do some research on that. I've got a number of manuals, and I will see what I can find. So we will get back to you next go-around if come up with something. And that's about it for me. I'd like to say, Charlie, thanks for doing the net. Thanks for the tubes. And I hope everybody has a great upcoming week here. So we'll look forward to Thursday. So over to George, K4GDN. This is WB4ARK.
WB4ARK in the group. This is K4GDN. And signals are coming in pretty good here in Myrtle Beach. And Charlie, thanks for calling the net. You're a bit weak today, but that's not too unusual for you for some reason. Anyhow, I'm going to say 73 on this round, but I'm going to listen to the end. And I'll be playing with the B&W 5107. See if I can figure out why a thing tunes as funny as it does. Anyhow, with that, it goes to Mir if you're still here. I guess otherwise Lee will pick it up. So WF2U in the group, K4GDN, 73 guys.
Mir, you still with us, WF2U?
Roger. Roger, I'm still here. Yeah. Oh, okay. Something is not stable here. Oh, that's better. Okay, I'm here. But the strange thing is that, well, George disappeared under the noise. We got some kind of ambient noise, and just faded out. So I didn't hear him passing in for me. Well, signals are generally good, and interesting about the GRC9 that Brian was using, because I have a GRC9 and I used it a lot on AM. Well, time to take these days to get the cobwebs out of it. But the audio was absolutely okay. It was a little restricted, like, you know, with the carbon mic and the military, like telephone kind of quality. But Brian sounds a little distorted, and I wonder what kind of microphone he's using. So too bad he had to go, because I don't know. They are designed to work with a P17, and unless it's using something similar, then it might be the microphone, unless there is some component or something that is not right, or not within specs. So that's the story here, and Lee's rig sounds nice, and it's what time is it? Yeah, wow, it's 10 o'clock already. Okay, so this is basically what I had to say, and it was good to hear everybody. Thanks, Charlie, for running the net, and enjoyed everybody who came on today. So I'll say 73. Have a good day, everybody. I'm not sure. I don't think I'll be able to be here on Thursday because of my other activities. But then Sunday is another day again. I hope to put my G76
They got that G76 on the air by then. I have to hook it up again after not using it for almost 2 years and make sure that it works. So 73 all have a good afternoon. And it's the Lee K4 VWD. This is WF2U.
Okay, Mir. WF2U, K4 VWD. Well, let's see, Dave. I was listening to the Atlanta group this morning, and one of the fellows on there said on this date in 1922, the BBC started their broadcast and a radio group there. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. And George, your signal came up that time, and man, 100% copy. And one of these days you can tell me about that amplifier. Is that the one I started and you finished? Or is it some other one? And Steve, your audio sounds fine. I got no problems with it. Talking about light bulbs, I have to tell you this story. I think I've said it before. Must have been the late 60s. I was going home for lunch, and I always I had an AF67 PMR8 receiver and my Webster band spanner in the car. And I was going home for lunch, and I heard some guys on the air, so I called them back, and they answered me, and I went by the house and looked, and they had an ART-13 feeding a light bulb. So I was only about a mile from them when I first heard them. Oh, could have been 2 or 3. But anyway, the light bulb was putting out good signal. And the leaves are fall. They cleaned up my yard yesterday, but today the leaves are falling so fast you can't tell they've been here. Man, thanks Charlie for doing that. And I guess Ray's signed, so I'm gonna turn it back to you. So I got to go grocery shopping. So 7-3, God bless everybody, and I look forward to talking to you on Thursday. W4MEC in the group, K4VWD. So long.
Okay, Lee, K4VWD in the group, W4MEC. Real good. Well, I don't know who's left. I was going to comment about the heat strips. I have actually got a couple 1,000-watt units that were part of a dummy load for a generator, and I think there was about 10 of them inside the framework there, and the generator actually drew air in from the building and blew it, sucked it through the radiator inside and blew it out the building, that kind of opposite of what a car does. And those heat strips were inside the discharge air outside the building for cooling from the engine air. So, but that's a little too high, 1,000 watts, and they're 230 volts too. But yeah, I need to come up with something to either that or just drain the pump. I'm going to look into just putting a gate valve on the pump drain and let it empty. I was looking at the thing about the light bulbs. You know, yeah, the tube gear, a lot of gear ran 30 to 600 ohms on the Pi network. Some went to 900 ohms. So as the bulb changed temperature and Z, you could draw it. The Pi network would compensate for it because it had that range. And that's about it. I did look at stand change rigs. I said, well, that sounds a lot better. And he had perfect sidebands on that thing, amazingly good looking signal. But what was interesting, I don't know, Brian's gone, but he was plus and minus 10 kc wide. He had spurs. It was a lot due to all the highs in his signal, but they went out from up and down 10 kc, so he was pretty broad. So that thing is driving something pretty hard. Anyway, there's only 2 of us left here, and that's Dave and Steve and myself. 3 of us left. So I'll just say 73, and if y'all want to say goodbye too, you can do that. W4MEC, W4LLR and N4LQ, W4MEC.
Hey, have a good one. Thanks for calling, Charlie. WA4LLR.
Buddy, WB4, this is KZ4B. Are you still there?
I got a question for Charlie.
My phone number is 704-658-7153. I'll repeat, 704-658-7153 if you find any manuals or information on that modulation monitor. Over.
Roger.
73.
Charlie, N4LQ, why does a light bulb's resistance go up when it gets hot? It seems like that's not good, but that's the way they are. And I just saw a guy did a test on it. A 100-watt light bulb starts out at 9 ohms and goes up to 144 ohms at full brilliance.
Yeah, I was curious about the, I remember they recommended 75-watt bulb on like the Heathkit DX60, so maybe there's something about that. But I noticed something. I held, I don't know, it was a 52-watt bulb. I think it was a 60. I held it up to the light and looked at it, and what's inside of it is a halogen lamp or another kind of incandescent. And it didn't have your basic 2 wires with the filament inside the glass bulb. It had 2 wires coming up attached to another lamp inside of it. So I thought that was an interesting way they're building bulbs now. But yeah, that would be a study to try different wattage bulbs and see what they did from cold to hot. I actually have several 1,000-watt tower beacon lamps, and they're 110-volt lamps too, so these babies do 9 amps or so. They have studs on 2 studs on the bottom that plugged into a socket. But I always wanted to try one of those out as a dummy load and see what it would do with power. But no, just a project I never got around to.
Okay. I just wondered. I guess they would prefer that your light bulb gives off all light and no heat. That would be more efficient, of course, but that has never been accomplished. But they've come a lot closer to it with these LEDs, and I would suppose they would like a electric heater to give off all heat and no light. But I don't really, and I don't think electric heater strips start out real low in resistance and then go up. I think they stay pretty much steady. But boy, a 300-watt bulb, just think, or 1,000-watt. Just think what the resistance must be when you first turn it on. If 100-watt is 9 ohms, that's pretty rough on a solid-state rig. It would, most of them would either fold back the power drastically, or just, or go up in smoke, or in the case of these amplifiers, they would just trip their protection circuit. And then the resistance would go up to 140 some ohms, and your SWR would be 2 something to 1. I think I saw 2.8 to 1 at full brilliance. So that's kind of a mess. Anyway, it's just fun to watch them blink. That's all I can say. And maybe be better off just playing with neon bulbs across the ladder line.
Yeah, I remember those, well, it wasn't neon, it was like number 47 that you made up to give a indication of RF on the ladder line there. I think it did forward and reverse too. I remember 2 bulbs. But yeah, those high wattage bulbs like they used on the tower, they actually, the ones that blinked, they actually, the switching circuit lit the lamp, and then it lit a dummy load. And I think primarily was to not have a big thump in on the AC line when the lamp came on. And so it basically swapped between a dummy load that was about the resistance of the lamp, and it kind of kept if the lamp is drawing 10 amps, you always drew 10 amps, and it doesn't be 10 amps for 30 seconds and then nothing. So, but I think I've got one of those somewhere around here too. I have to go see what it is, but. Yeah, they make the goldenrod is a strip heater, a tubular heater for like closets and stuff. They actually make those things in Hendersonville. And I think 12 and a half might be the smallest, but I've got a couple of 25 waters. I think I got a 75 water in one closet. And they get fairly warm to the touch. You know, there are various lengths from like 18 inches to like 2 or 3 feet. But they don't, you got to find a dealer. They don't sell them locally. And when you go to Lowe's or something like that, it's some piece of junk out of China. So I don't know where they're still in business. They've been here forever. And I don't know where they're selling them, but they don't sell them in Lowe's and Home Depot. So that would be another option too. And I also bought a thermostat that plugs in the wall. And I needed it for my bird bath lights, and I plugged it in an outside outlet, and it never came on, even when it got down to like 24 degrees. I said, well, darn, what's going on? And the heat of the house was enough to keep that thing from tripping. And I ended up having to get about a 4-foot extension cord and plug it in the outlet and keep the thing away from the house so that it would operate at the right temperature. So, that's another issue with like a plug-in thermostat or something that's close to a house, I guess. So anyway, I won't keep you any longer, but good to talk to you this morning. M4LQ W4MEC.
I guess they still sell heat tape. Like they use on pipes to keep them from freezing. And yeah, well, our piano way back in the old days, they sold a thing called a damp chaser that was sound like a closet heater, little rod-shaped thing. You put it in the piano, keep the moisture out, and it would get just a little bit warm, and I guess it worked. I don't know. It kept the air inside warmer. Well, good luck with the flashlight and the KW Matchbox. I've got this headlight LED. It's like a strip of LEDs, and I put that against the side so it lit up the entire insides, and I could see it pretty well by looking down through the top. So that worked out pretty good. Anyway, have fun. See you later. W4MEC and 4LQ.
I got one of those too, and I'll try that in a minute here. Damp chaser, that was the name I was trying to think of. I don't know where I got goldenrod from. I actually have one that's gold colored. I think I must have transposed something in my dim brain. But anyway, Damp Chaser is the name of the company, and they're right here in Hendersonville, and they still make them here in Hendersonville. But trying to find one locally is difficult, and they don't offer any factory sales. So. Oh well. We'll talk to you later. M4LQ, W4MEC.